មង្គលបបសុស្ដីយើងខ្ញុំជាតិខ្មែរអោនជ្រកក្រោមលំអង្គព្រះបារមីនៃព្រះនុប្តីជ័យវរមានខ្សត្រថ្លៃពីបុរាណល្បីល្បាញខ្លាហានអង្គសម័យប្រាសាទសេឡាកំបាំងកនដាលព្រៃគួរឲ្យស្រមៃនឹកដល់យល់សាំងមហានគរជាតិខ្មែរដូចថ្មគង់វង្សនៅល្អរឹងពឹងជុំហោយើងសងខំពភ័មព្រេងសំណាងរបងកម្ពុជាមហារដ្ឋមានទង់គេដំណគ្រប់វត្តអារាមលឺតែសូរសាធរថ្លែងគុណអំណរឧត្តមក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជួយផុតទង់ភ័យវីរភាពអង្ចារួមក្រុមការងារខេមរាប្រស្រីប្រយុទ្ធជោគជ័យយកបានអំណាចជាតិនឹងទាំងដីមានសិទ្ធិសេរីរស់សុខសាន្ត
យើងខ្ញុំព្រះករុណាសូមក្រាបថ្វាយបង្គំព្រះពុទ្ធព្រះធម៌ព្រះសង្ឃជាទីសក្ការៈសូមគោរពជម្រាបសួរឯកឧត្តមសាស្ត្រាចារ្យមនិតដំឆិតរីអគ្គស្ថាបនិកអគ្គមេវិទ្យាការឧត្តមក្រុមប្រឹក្សាខ្មែរជួយខ្មែររំដោះជាតិជាទីគោរពដ៏ខ្ពង់ខ្ពស់និងសូមជម្រាបសួរបងប្អូនខ្មែរទូទាំងសកលលោកនេះជាកម្មវិធីទស្សនៈស្ត្រីលើកទី18ថ្ងៃនេះយើងមានប្រធានបទភាគបន្តស្ដីអំពីតើខ្មែរអាចទាមទារយកទឹកដីដែលបាត់បង់ដូចជាកម្ពុជាក្រោមនិងកោះត្រល់មកវិញបានដែរឬទេទស្សនៈស្ត្រីយើងខ្ញុំនឹងបកស្រាយជាភាសាអង់គ្លេសដើម្បីឲ្យអន្តរជាតិលោកបានដឹងថានរណាជាមិត្តនរណាជាសត្រូវរបស់ប្រទេសកម្ពុជាពិតប្រាកដជាពិសេសទៅទៀតសម្រាប់បងប្អូនកូនក្មួយដែលលោកធំធាត់នៅស្រុកក្រៅហើយគាត់ខ្សត់ខ្សោយជាភាសាខ្មែរជូនដល់កូនក្មួយដែលលោកចង់ឲ្យលោកដឹងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រខ្មែរពិតប្រាកដអញ្ចឹងទស្សនៈស្ត្រីយើងខ្ញុំនឹងបកស្រាយភាសាអង់គ្លេសមានដូចតទៅ Today is the 20th anniversary of September 11. I would like everyone to join me with a moment of silence for 11 seconds to remember the people that lost their lives in 20 years ago. Thank you, ladies. And now I will start the show. Good evening and welcome back to Supreme Council of KHMER for Rescue, Khmer Lady Viewpoint Show. And now I would like to introduce our panelists this evening. Right now we have Mrs. Gina Seth and Mrs. Galiano. And my name is Chobi, but I am your host tonight. Tonight we are going to continue where we left off on Can Khmer reclaim KAMPUCHEA KROM and Koh Tral back? We will try to share how we will reclaim our territory back legally with court of law with the audience. We have significant evidence that it was not legal annex and it was orchestrated by our own leaders just for personal benefit. So sit back. It will be another exciting evening. Let's get started, ladies. How are you doing, ladies, tonight? On Kalyan, on China. Welcome back.
Thank you, Bong. I am doing great and looking forward to tonight's show, Bong, with you and on China. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bong Chavi and Bong Kalyan. I am doing great as well and ready to have another exciting evening with you ladies.
Thank you. Before we get started, we have a short video to share with our audience. Bomani, please play the video.
Khmer Kondal, 181,035 kilometers square with 25 provinces. Khmer KROM, 68,950 kilometers square with 21 provinces and 2 islands. Khmer Le, 102,885 kilometers square with 12 provinces. Khmer Le at Laos territory, 93,263 kilometers square with 6 provinces. The Khmer reunification will be the total of 64 provinces, a total of 446,820 kilometers square. The Khmer territory that were lost over the last 800 years. Khmer Le with 12 provinces, which is the Siam territory or Thailand. Khmer Le, 6 provinces, Lao territory. Khmer KROM, 21 provinces. The traders that were responsible for Khmer to lost control of KAMPUCHEA KROM to King Bao Dai, the Vietnamese, in 1949 were King Sihanouk, Prince Sisawat Manipong, and the Franco-Khmer Committee. His Excellency Professor Dr. Ray Sidam, Power and Authority, the President of the Khmer Republic, the Chairman of UNOITC Global. His Excellency Professor Dr. Ray Sidam controls 6,370 metric tons of gold bullion deposited in HSBC London. Country has gold bullion reserve comparing to His Excellency Professor Dr. Ray Sidam, the country that have the largest gold reserve as of June 2017 are the United States of America hold 8,133.5 metric ton. Germany hold 3,374.1 metric ton. Italy hold 2,451.8. France hold 2,435.9. China hold 1,842.6. Russia hold 1,715.8, and Switzerland hold 1,040 metric ton. International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, hold 2,814 metric, while European Central Bank hold 504.8 metric ton. The golden rule says, the man who holds the most gold makes the rule. His Excellency Professor Dr. Ray Sedam certainly holds the most gold, so he makes the rule. Under the leadership of His Excellency, Professor Dr. Ray Sedam, KHMER has the legal right, international right, to claim KAMPUCHEA KROM under 1949 French Law 49-733. Over 10,000 pages of proof, including handwritten note, if all the financial, legal, and political channels are all exhausted, the last option will be the lethal force of private military forces.
Thank you, Bong Mani, for the video. On Kalyan and on China, please share your thought on the video if you lady have any.
Sure, Bong. Thank you. You know, this video should give all KHMER a very promising hope, Bong. You know, I know that this could be done, and only by one person only, which is our Local who has all the resources to get this job done, Bong. Now, which are his political ability, his political will, and financial ability, which we all saw on the video, with 6,370 metric tons of solid gold, which Local controls more than all the other countries except for the United States of America, Bong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bong Chavi. First and foremost, I would like to thank Bong Pramoninu for this magnificent video clip. I am completely astonished by this news and how the video turned out. Now we all can envision the future endeavor of the new Khmer Republic and its remarkable plans and strategy once the revolutions, transformations, formulation take place. We will definitely see the prosperity of our Mahanaco once again, Bong. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Tonight, topic is remaining part of the last show, which we have talked about and know about. Number one, we know who part of the Franco-Khmer Treaty was. Two, we know that KAMPUCHEA KROM territory was left out on our constitution so that France could give to Vietnam. Three, who tried to stop Khmer patriot from reclaiming KAMPUCHEA KROM back. Four, we know that our legal standing is legally in reclaim our KAMPUCHEA KROM back.
You know, Bong Chavi, you are correct, Bong. It is correct. For examining the evidence archive back in the last 100 years that led up to June the 4th, 1949, clearly we were weak and only interested in self-interest power within their family, like the Sisavat clans and the Narodam clans, Bong.
And you know what, while we went after Thailand twice for 5 square kilometers that we have no significant value to produce any agricultural products or people able to live on it, I understand that it has a symbolic value of our culture, but nothing to provide value to our daily lives. In contrast to the low part of the territory, as we all know, KAMPUCHEA KROM is 68,950 square kilometers or 21 provinces with more than 12 million people. This is the delta point of merchants with access to the sea, which provides significant natural resources and a shipping gateway. Those leaders then and now are trying to stop us from doing something about it. Hun Sen even offered a casket to those who plan to do something about it and to award them their patriotism. That traitor is no other than the devil himself. This man is more than evil, Bong.
Yes, also China, we cannot sit and cry about it, hoping that one day our land, KAMPUCHEA KROM, the Vietnamese thief will give it back to us, land of peace, back to all Kon Khmer. Local understands the deep dire of this evil Vietnamese communist down to the core of evil. That's why he has drawn a very constructive plan to bring the land of peace back to all Kon Khmer.
Yes, Luc Phuthien has had, this plan in motion for more than 5 years now.
This is correct, Mang Chavi, Mang Koyan. Without Luc Phuthien, in the next 28 years, KAMPUCHEA KROM will be 100 years under Vietnam communists. Even the previous and now leaders do not care to find documents to contrast Law 49-733. For sure, the Vietnamese communists will not throw away the land they have stolen or return it to Kon Khmer.
The issue of Khmer KAMPUCHEA KROM territory is very complicated, and France must be the one to undo it. And as far as we know, the Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue, under the leadership of Luc Phuthien, these key people will help us make things right for Kon Khmer. And for the record, I am going to mention some of the names: Monsieur Jacques Alele and Monsieur Andre Azoulay, and many other powerful elite people that are currently providing political support for our Luc Phuthien.
This is all a very powerful circle of French political group, as I understand.
Yes, this is correct, Bong. As we always mention repeatedly, that Luc Phuthien is a very crafty politician with so many resources around the globe. France is one of his stronghold of political power and financial influence, Bong.
Bong Kalyan, what you mentioned earlier are the very influential people who will provide political apparatus for the Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue, Bong.
Lady, we are moving forward. The voices of Khmer people from all three regions, Khmer Krom, Khmer Le, and Khmer Kandal, with all the patriot of Kon Khmer, who is the owner of the Khmer land, will be heard on Khmer land to, let's under one flag of the new Khmer Republic.
Yes, that is correct, Mang Chavi. The new logos of the reform under the leadership of Luc Phuthien to govern as the new republic regime of the new Khmer Republic. The unification of the three Khmer nations to be put into one Khmer to lead by new revised Khmer nations by all Khmer children. Kon Khmer's solemn duty is to protect the sovereignty and integrity of the land for freedom, peace, and prosperity for all Kon Khmer to prosper into eternity.
Yes, the road to our unification journey has a solid foundation that Luc Phuthien, as we have disclosed it earlier, name all the prominent politicians in Europe, especially in France.
Yes, the political apparatus that Luc Phuthien has, master crafted will lead us to a very successful international legal liberation shortly.
For the first time in 800 years, Kon Khmer would chased out the Vietnamese communists thief Hanoi and the Chinese communist thief out of Khmer land by using the international legal process without bloodshed on our land. Well, this is absolutely the ultimate master of master political craft by Luc Phuthien. We will win a major war against mighty communist China and the Vietnamese communist clan without firing a single bullet.
Wow.
Yes, and I would like, all Kon Khmer to know, and including all the so-called themselves Khmer politicians that Lokpatien has no problem in liberating our land from these two evil monsters, the communist China and the communist Vietnamese from our land. But maintaining and having continuous development peacefully will be a major challenge. So we as Kon Khmer must come together to maintain the integrity of Khmer territory, to abide by our Council of the 8 attorneys, which has secured more than 10,000 pages of documents. You know, this major milestone of accomplishment by Lokpatien political effort and craftsmanship should electrify every Kon Khmer. And all these years, you know, we have been fooled by Sihanouk and his Vietnamese wife, Monique Easy, who solemn oath to her Ho Chi Minh master to make us believe that KAMPUCHEA KROM is out of Kon Khmer's reach and will never be returned to Kon Khmer again.
Yes, all Kon Khmer must be strong and stand up to protect its, you know, what is ours. We cannot be fooled or controlled by the foreigner anymore. Let us move forward to the legal issues of how we lost our territory to communist Vietnam. We have covered these, you know, issues our last show.
You know, ladies, you know, let me remind all Kon Khmer again that Lokpatien structure a path to liberate in the best interests and safety of all Kon Khmer. So legal facts related to the integrity of Khmer territory with 10,000 pages plus of documents to be filed with a non-violent international lawsuit with full diplomatic and political support from Lokpatien's circle of allies across the globe. Bong.
That is correct, Bong Kalyan. The real facts and political motive of all parties involved in the transferring power to Vietnam in 1949 were discovered. The formulations of the Franco-Khmer Writing Committee of the Franco-Khmer Treaty, which drafted the Constitution, the administrative statute, and the geographical statute before France left, which France had used officially to divide the territory between Khmer and Vietnam. The most sensitive matter, the Khmer side did not incorporate the statute of KAMPUCHEA KROM into the Khmer Constitution, which was a major factor in the loss of 21 provinces and 2 islands.
You know, as we have said in our previous show, what made matter worse and illegal during that time in 1949 of signing the 49-733 French law and the Franco-Khmer Treaty. 1, Sihanouk staged a constitutional coup. 2, Sihanouk was not the signer. Sisavat Monipong was the signer and without an approval of the National Assembly.
Well, you know, Bong, let me quote another article by Philippe Preches to cover up the mountain crime behind the file of the Franco-Khmer Treaty. Palace officials, you know, they're the traitors, try to stir the tide, that is to create a political era in 1949. So not to let anyone see the truth, Bong.
What did Sihanouk work with to, you know, create a chaos to redirect and stop influence from the parliament? Please elaborate again, Kalian, please.
You know, Bong, it was Prime Minister Yam Sambo that dispute with the parliament. The palace orchestrated the whole fight to redirect the parliament from protesting the signing of the Franco-Khmer Treaty, and the palace took this matter to the radio audiences. You know, in a radio broadcast, the first Prime Minister Yam Sambo accused some lawmakers of preparing to sell the country pile of salt, rice, and fish to the enemies.
According to the document, Mr. Yam Sambo refused to comply with the National Assembly threat because he has not respected the Constitution. Please tell us why, On China and On Kalyan. Please give your input as well.
Well, Mong, as you said earlier, many materials show that Yam Sambo was working for Sihanouk, not in the best interest of Kon Khmer. So the majority of parliament protested at the Franco-Khmer Treaty that was in preparations for signing in Paris. In response to the parliament's protest, Yam Sambo said, "I will ask the king to dissolve the National Assembly." The National Assembly refused to comply, and instantly Yam Sambo received royal's decree from King Norodom Sihanouk to dissolve the National Assembly. Bong.
You know, ladies, the National Assembly attempted to withdraw the petition for re-examination by September 17, 1949, by 54-7 votes. But it was too late to safeguard the parliament. Furthermore, I would like to point out that King Sihanouk conflicted with the group of Democratic who opposed his willingness to sign the France-Khmer Treaty on the agreement on the statute of the new Cambodia, which would lead to give the whole KAMPUCHEA KROM to the King of Vietnam, Bao Dai, King Bao Dai. That's not good.
Uncle Yan, King Sihanouk was very reckless when he realized that the National Assembly was challenging his power at that time. He went on to insult them more. By September 18th, 1949, he declared that his royal decree dissolving the National Assembly could not be reversed. And he even claimed that dissolutions of the National Assembly is in line with the Constitution, even the procedure was not appropriate. Long.
Yes, and China, you are right on. Sihanouk was very reckless indeed. To cover and play his game, he immediately urged provincial heads of states about the possibility of free and fair re-elections. And he knew that it was not possible.
And yes, Bong, he knew that the political environment was in favor of the re-election was not possible because the activity of the Iraq and their allies, the Viet Minh, was unsafe to hold an emergency election. So to this effect, it gave Sihanouk a perfect reason for the current government to take temporary control with the help of Royal Council of Thrones against the Constitution.
And not backing down, the Democratic Party took the opportunity to accuse Sihanouk of violating the Constitution because the Constitution stated that when the National Assembly is dissolved, a new election must be held within the next 2 months, Article 38.
What was the reckless king response?
Well, Bong Chavi, not a surprise, coming from a reckless and autocratic leader like Sihanouk was. Sihanouk replied that there are no special circumstances that did not allow for unconstitutional action. Still, on the other hand, Sihanouk implied that he was the one who gave the constitutional gift to the nation, so he had the right to suspend the constitutions for a while in the best interest of the nation. This was reckless actions in response from the self-served interest king. Bong.
Yes, and that is right on. His action did not fit the common sense and created an atmosphere of chaos. After dissolving the parliament, the king appointed a new president of the National Assembly, which was Mr. Ilka, the leader of the Democratic Party, that should be the prime minister. In contradicting the appointment of the new head of parliament, and due to the insecurity that prevented the re-election, Yam Sambo still holds the head of government, forming a new government on September 29, 1949, a new Minister of the Interior in agreement with the National Assembly. And all other members of the government must remain in office to carry out their daily tasks.
And you know what? Regardless of the newly appointed and formed, the new government did not receive the trust of the National Assembly because it was government that emerged from a coup against the Constitution.
And Sihanouk was a very crafted politician and not trustworthy, but he knew how to play with the mind of the people. And Sihanouk, as good guy, claimed that he was acting as mediator especially at the time of the dissolution of the National Assembly. King Sihanouk publicly declared that he has no intention of walking away from the rule of law and does not want to oppose the principle of democracy. And he does not want the parliament to derail his Franco-Khmer Treaty.
Wow, lady, very interesting. It was clear that Sihanouk reopened the old parliament, and the parliament member will not agree, to allow them to sign the Franco-Khmer Treaty. This is clear evidence that the coup against the Constitution 1949 was made to cover up the crime, losing KAMPUCHEA KROM to Vietnam.
Well, let me share with all of you, Bong, that the three political crimes that do not too many people know about before France left Cambodia. On July 18th, 1947, Prince Sisavat Yuttavong, the first Cambodian minister to take office out of the election, died 3 months after he took office. Cause of death was poison. Some documents stated that the killer was Yam Sambo, who was Sisavat Yuttavong's special secretary at the time. And then on January the 14th, 1950, Yam Sambo told a police officer named Sang Tip to kill Mr. Ivka. But Mr. Ivka was killed by a grenade attack at the Democratic Party headquarters. And then on October 29th, 1951, France released Sun Ngoc Thanh to return to Phnom Penh. And on that day, when Sun Ngoc Thanh arrived at Po Chin Tong Airport, about 5,000 Khmer went to support him. But on the same day, the Vietnamese communists killed Jean Day Raymond, the French protectorate in Cambodia. He was more powerful than King Norodom Sihanouk at the time. They blamed the Sun Ngoc Thanh group for the death of Jean Day Raymond.
Wow.
Yeah, on China, all the above murder were to stir up chaos to divert Khmer attention from KAMPUCHEA KROM. And no Khmer could see that they were already losing KAMPUCHEA KROM before 1953, when Norodom Sihanouk gained independence from France.
Well, you know what, Bong? Let us remind Gold Khmer again that the signing of the Franco-Khmer Treaty in 1945 through 1946 was not King Sihanouk, but Sisavat Manipong. As we said, Sisavat Manipong did not have any status representing Khmer in any capacity. At that time, was Yam Sambo was the prime minister from 1949 until May 1950. Sisavat Manipong was not even a minister, not even the party leader, not even the people representative. He was just a prince who represented only himself.
And yes, let me tell you, ladies, who was Sisavat Manipong really was. He was a prince who was pro-France and who was the author of the French-Khmer Treaty on the political, administrative, and geological statute of the new Kampuchea. That was written without connecting the territory of KAMPUCHEA KROM in the treaty French Khmer. And that was a major gross mistake, or was it his intention to deliver KAMPUCHEA KROM to Bao Dai?
How could that be possible? The whole Roy court, must be behind all of this from the beginning for selecting the next successor of King Sisavat passing.
Well, Bong, we do not have any solid proof that the royal court is behind all of this, but we do know that in addition to Sisavat Manipong, a group of the author of Franco-Khmer Treaty team were Sisavat Muniret. At that time, he was a prime minister appointed by the French from Sun Ngoc Thanh in 1945. And then we have Kem Tân, Mr. Nyak Yulong, Mr. Va Kamel, and Mr. Chan Nak. Be advised that almost all these names mentioned were French and Vietnamese communist intelligence officers in some capacity. So these men were not working for the interests of Khmer at all, Bong, during that time.
Well, other important note is that we should consider how the whole ordeal took place in favor of Bao Dai at that time. The Vietnamese communists always wanted independence from France, but they realized that they must play their cards right, and the timing is everything. and they understood the geopolitics better than Khmer. So they held off the demand for independence from France. But the Vietnamese communists pushed Khmer to go first to be independent from France so that the French would hate Khmer. You know, when the relationship between Khmer and France went uneasy, the Vietnamese communists approached the France for independence. And guess what? They got more than what they should, the additional 21 provinces and the 2 islands.
That is very sexy, lady. Our humble leader, Luc Tin, will ensure Kon Khmer pain and suffering will end soon. So what about the other Cambodian patriots? Did they, have any protests on this on?
Yes, Bong Chavi, there are many Cambodian elites such as Sun Ngọc Thanh, Simbar, Sisavat Yuttavong, Ika, and more. Almost demanded independence, but the damage had been done already. Then the Vietnamese communists took the right opportunity to force France to make a new statute of Indochina, showing the map of New KAMPUCHEA territory, which is Cambodia without KAMPUCHEA KROM territory.
You know what else, ladies? These patriots did not go down quietly. Prince Sisavat Yuttavong made it clear in 1946 that whatever took place with the signing of France Khmer must comply with Article 46 of Cambodian's constitution. Now, this means that the king, Sihanouk, to sign with France or other state must be linked to the National Assembly vote for approval. Sihanouk knew it very well that if he recalls the member of the National Assembly, they would not have agreed to sign the Franco-Khmer Treaty of 1945. Again, this was a very gross intention to give KAMPUCHEA KROM away to Bao Dai.
Yes, Sihanouk was a very reckless king. He approved the signing of the Franco-Khmer Treaty in 1949. Under these circumstances, in the violation of the Khmer Constitution, which has no tie to the decision of the National Assembly.
Bong, the reckless king, thinks that he was the God King of constitutional. Even at that time, the Khmer King is a constitutional king. Still, the king has no right to decide on Khmer territory without the signature of the President of the National Assembly, as Mr. Ivka had reminded the nations of such. Bong.
As always, during any chaotic event, the enemy took advantage of the opportunity to seize the moment of our weakness. While Khmer was dealing with the constitutional crisis, the Vietnamese communists disguised as Cambodian understood that all the above political crises allowed them to swallow KAMPUCHEA KROM.
I agree that the Vietnamese communists are very good at, creating a crisis to redirect, Khmer from knowing the real problem. Just like right now, they use Sam Rang Si and Hun Sen to create a political fight to redirect our attention to the border marking and undocumented the Vietnamese immigrant that flew into our lands in 1979. Before anyone realized it, we have more than 7 million undocumented, guess what, Vietnamese immigrant. Sorry, okay, lady, let us get our topic. Sorry for losing track here. On Galian, on China, before we signing the French Khmer Treaty, did any member of the parliament try to talk to the French government on?
Yes, Bong, there was a group or parliament delegation went to France in 1948.
Can you please give the name of the member of the delegation, Uchina?
Yeah, of course. Like I have said, in 1948, the French government intended to connect KAMPUCHEA KROM to Vietnam first, leaving Cambodia and Vietnam to find a solution later. The parliament member delegation tried to talk to change their decisions. The Cambodian delegate were Princess U Can Tho, Mr. Chen Vom, and then Mr. Sok Chung, and Mr. Ton Ok attended a meeting in the Parliament of the French Union to ask the French government for immediate talks with the royal government of Cambodia about the transferring of power or KAMPUCHEA KROM to Vietnam. At that meeting, Mr. Sok Chung had made detailed demands by confirming the positions and purpose of the Khmer people on the territory of KAMPUCHEA KROM. And then I would like to quote the demand, what it says, we demand everything that belongs to US. We do not claim anything that does not belong to us, not US, I mean to us. Well.
Thank you.
You know, China, unfortunately, on June the 4th, 1949, the French Parliament passed the law 49-733 without the Khmer side, the transfer of control of Cochin China, KAMPUCHEA KROM, to King Bao Dai, you know, the last Vietnamese king. It was the secret internal French government arrangement that was done against their parliament approval.
Well, Bong, that might be the case because it opposed the French Parliament approval, and the Democrat Parliament set up a special commissions to investigate a review on the decisions. And but this effort died on September 18th, 1949, when King Sihanouk exercised his monarchy under the Article 21 of the Constitution, dissolved the National Assembly by sending a telegram to the French Parliament announcing the abolitions of the Khmer Parliament Commission, stating that who is a mission there no longer have representative of the parliamentary committee because the parliament had been dissolved. This is another strong proof of telegram by the reckless king to make his promise good to his puppet master Vietnamese communists. In short, all the territories of the following provinces today always belong to Khmer people because the act of cutting off Khmer territory to Vietnam at that time was not legal. By the French colonial administrations without the signature of Khmer King and without the approval of Parliament against the Article 46 of the Cambodian Constitution. Long.
Thank you, Owen. Okay, I think we have given enough detail of how we lost control and our nation traders. Let us ask the hard question one more time. Can Khmer reclaim KAMPUCHEA KROM back? Owen Galyam, please take this question.
Well, thank you, Bong. You know, I have to say, yes, a big yes, yes, we can. You know, we will do it in a legal parameter of the legal law that is available for us. Now, even Hun Sen and Sihanouk cronies are trying to discourage us from doing it so. These people are as guilty as the group that orchestrated the signing of the Franco-Khmer Treaty. You know, my fellow Khmer, you know, we at the Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue, under Lok Spertian leadership, will reclaim all the lost territories from the Vietnamese communists with all the legal documents that are available to us in the last 100 years. You know, and without these documents, we could not stand a chance or have a right to protest with the international court as we did with Bradley here with Siam. For example, you know, now is the real moment. We will not be bringing up the conflict between Khmer and Khmer or accuse this person of cutting our land to the Vietnamese communists, because this is a plot for the Vietnamese enemy to see Cambodians quarrel to eliminate traces of their robbery.
Yes, you are correct, Hun Galyam. Like I said earlier, now they have Hun Sen and Sam Rang Si as their actors in redirecting us from the real issues. We must focus the real issues, as Lok Tin always said, focus on what matters most. Now it's all about claiming our land back.
You are absolutely correct, Bong. Lok Tin is very crafty in this matter. He understands the root cause of our problem. He went after the roots that caused the problem and pulled it out with authority as the most influential person on this planet.
Well, that is correct. You know, Lok Tin is crafty politician, as you said, on China. You know, he has assembled a political base in France to assure his groundwork of lawsuit presented without any interference from any parties of interest that would stop us from presenting this lawsuit at the ICC and ICJ. In addition, as we all know, the political mentor and architecture of his strategy have some input from his mentor, Dr. Henry Kissinger, who else? This is a major plus for our KHMER that we must realize. The other thing we must realize is that France created this mess for us, and they must undo this mess, even if they like it or not. Plus all the documents that our 8 attorneys have secured are all that involved in this lawsuit are all stored away.
And yes, well, French are certainly the major factor, and their documents will be the key in presenting to the international lawsuit. We were under their protectorate state as Vietnamese Communist was. One of the critical official French documents that will be used and proven case is as follows. Bong, the Siamese conquered land were also successfully reclaimed by the French from Siam on December 19th, 1946. And then the territory that Vietnam had taken over France did not return to Cambodia, despite the promise of the French Admiral de la Grandière.
Yeah, the Siamese returned our land back us on December 9th, 1946, which will be used as international case ruling in our favor for sure. What about the 2 islands and KROM? What can you share on this, lady?
Yeah, okay. I would love to start first. I want to answer these questions for everyone. The case of THROL and KROM, the territories of Cambodia based on 1, Circular of Bravi 1939, 2, United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea in 1982, and then 3, Cambodia-Paris Peace Agreement 1991. 4, the Constitution is supreme law of the Kingdom of Cambodia. 5, the official documents of Cambodia. And last but not least, number 6, the national legal documents, international law. However, Vietnam invaded Cambodia and put pressure on Cambodia to use illegal documents in both the national and international framework in force. Bong.
Lady, after the Vietnamese invaded Cambodia on January 7, 1979, we all know that the Vietnamese communists installed a puppet government to rubber stamp the treaty to give land to them. What crime have the traitor and the Vietnamese government committed?
Bong, we have plenty of evidence, that they committed plenty of crimes. But there are 6 major crimes that they did together, the Vietnamese and the current government. And I would like to read off 3. And China, could you please help me read off the other 3?
Of course, Bong, I will be delighted to read off Bong Kalian.
That's
It's
great.
really long. It's long. That's why.
That's great. I want to hear. We all want to hear all our view.
There is enough evidence to show the world that the Vietnamese Communist government and the current Cambodian government have committed crimes together. And here are the first 3. 1, on March 22nd through 27th, 1999, the Cambodia-Vietnam Joint Boundary Commission adopted the 1982, 83, 85 treaties and agreements as basic principle for resolving border issues between the 2 countries, and followed by 2 additional supplement treaties, 2005 and 2019. And 2, on July the 7th, 1982, between Vietnam and Cambodia, the Vietnamese Communist Party included THROL and KAMPUCHEA on the map of Vietnam territory without any legal reference other than using the word based the real situation. And Cambodia-Vietnam Treaty of February 18, 1979. And 3, in violation of the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The Vietnamese communist thieves did not abide by any by the convention of the occupying THROL and KAMPUCHEA, which violated the law of the sea, 1982, Chapter 2, Part 2, and Article 3 states.
Can you be a little bit more specific on the violation on?
Sure, Bong, you know, in terms of the geopolitics conditions, THROL is only 15 kilometers from Kampot province in Cambodia and 45 kilometers from Ha Tien area in Cai Giang province in Vietnam. I'm not sure I pronounce it right because it's Vietnamese words. But anyhow, you know, according to the 1982 law of the sea, it is clear that THROL belongs to the Khmer people, as the island is located only 15 kilometers from the coast of Kampot province of Cambodia, less than 22.24 kilometers set by the law of the sea, you know. So Onchina, please help me read the remaining 3 crimes.
Sure. Thank you, Bong Kalayan. Here are the other 3 crimes that the traders helped the Vietnamese stole our land. 1, the complete violations of the principle, spirit, and mechanism of the United Nations, which mediated the Cambodian crisis and established the 1991 Paris Agreement, and then which require Cambodia and Vietnam to respect and implement treaties and agreement of February 18, 1979, 1982, 1983, and 1985 between the Vietnam and Cambodia under the control of the Vietnamese communist guerrillas were annulled by the October 23rd, 1991 Cambodia Peace Agreement. The second document of the Cambodian Paris Peace Agreement are the Article 1.2-D states, and all the treaties and agreements there are inconsistent with the sovereignty and independence, integrity and inviolability of its territory, neutrality and national unity. And then number 2, the second one, the total violations of the ASEAN principle is stated in Article 2 of the ASEAN Charter, which stated that the ASEAN, its member states, shall act following the principle. And then A, respect the independent sovereignty, equality, territorial integrity, and national identity of all ASEAN member states. And then B, participate in joint commitment and responsibility to promote peace, security, and prosperity in the region. C, reject any aggressions and threat or use of force or activity in a manner inconsistent with international law. And then Article 2, Section 1 state that its members states reaffirm and adhere to the basic principles set out in the ASEAN Declarations, Agreement, treaties, and other instruments. And then the last one, also, it is a complete violations of the Constitution, the supreme law of the Kingdom of Cambodia. In the Article 55 stated that any treaties and agreement inconsistent with Cambodia, independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, neutrality, and national unity shall be abolished. Bong.
Well, thank you, both of you, lady. This is like wonderful information. Thank you.
It's a lot to read.
It is. You know, Hun Sen puppet government failed to formally annul the treaty and agreement of year 1979. I wrote it down here: 1979, 1982, and 1983, and 1985. It is ratified that supplementary treaty of year 2005 and year 2019, which completely violated the 1991 Paris Agreement. This is clear that he is working for the interests of his puppet master, the Vietnamese communists. Okay, On Kalyan asked us if we can reclaim Kampuchea, KROM, and the 2 islands back. Yes, a big yes. Our audience is dying to hear this, you know, answer from us Now on.
Yes, and I'm sorry that I have not answered the big question yet, but we need to give a little background before answering, those questions earlier. Here is listen to me, here is how the Supreme Council Khmer for Rescue will approach reclaiming the lost territory. Shortly after taking control of the country, the new Khmer Republic, under the rule of law and good governance, must take lead in defending its sovereignty and territorial integrity. One, we must demand that the communist country of Vietnam immediately stop all projects, business plan, trade, and construction on THROL and KAMPUCHEA. And two, we must officially abolish laws, treaties, agreements, and documents that are contrary to the content of the 1991 Paris Peace Accord.
Yes, Bong, it could be done, just like the lost country, that the territory returned to the original owners. For example, like East Timor. East Timor has been under the Portuguese colony for almost 4 centuries. East Timor, after the Indonesian invasions in December 1975, which Indonesia unilaterally annexed in 1976, the United Nations did not recognize the inclusion, so the country held its referendum in 2002. East Timor gained full independence. Indonesia invaded East Timor and used violence during its rule, responsible for many deaths, according to a reliable estimate of between 100 to 200,000 people.
Yes, and also on China, as for the Philippines, the International Court of Justice in The Hague has ruled the Philippines over China over the South China Sea dispute. The International Court of Justice in The Hague has ruled that the Western Philippines water in the South China Sea belongs to the Philippines. And still the Chinese media consider the court a violation of the law and said that the verdict was wrong. Well, regardless of China's dispute, the Philippines got the World Court to deliver a verdict in their favor. And you know what, ladies, we can do the same, ladies.
Thank you so much for the detailed information on how the other countries lost the territory at one ICC. For the KAMPUCHEA KROM case, it is a complex matter. Can you both provide a synopsis of how Luc Pretien will bring the lawsuit against the Vietnamese Communist government? Kalyan, please be lead on this, and I hope China, can jump if you have any to add on this.
Sure,
Bong. Yeah, thank you, Bong. You are right. KAMPUCHEA KROM issue is a very complex matter. This is why the Supreme Council Khmer for Rescue has hired lawyers specializing in 8 international treaties, signatories to the Paris Peace Agreement of October 23rd, 1991, divided into 3 groups, Bong.
You know what, Bong? This is my favorite, line. Group 1 is responsible for searching the document, which that had discovered for more than 10,000 pages of document. This is what we heard over and over again from the Puso. And then group 2 is the group that prepares a complaint to be filed with the time when the time comes. And then group 3 is the facilitator group, which mobilizes the persuasive and conducting political lobbying with the relevant institutions in claiming Khmer territory of 21 provinces and 2 islands, Bong.
Yes, as already, as we all know, that Luc Pretien is a very methodical planner and strategist. He always plans to eliminate the possible of losing out of the equation first. And he believes that, the winning factor will take its own course. And here is, his strategy of plan. Strategic plan 1. The Council of the 8 Attorney has researched the documents related to Law 49-733 of June 14, 1949, on the connecting of the lower provinces, KAMPUCHEA KROM, to Vietnam. Now that's enough with 10,000 pages of evidence. Plan 2, Council of our 8 attorneys with the International Bar Association have lobbied with the signatory of the October 1991 Cambodia-Paris Peace Accord to protest Cambodia territorial integrity. Plan 3, the Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue is preparing to announce the formation of the new Khmer Republic government that will be recognized by at least 50 countries worldwide. And Plan 4, the 8th Council of the Attorney representing the Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue, the 300 Committee, or the New World Order. After the proclamation, the new government of the Khmer Republic then began to formally file a lawsuit in the court, which have the jurisdiction over the entire world. And according to the information from the international lawyers of the 8 countries, this lawsuit informed us in advance that we will win both cases. And Plan 5, after receiving the judgment, the Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue and the new Republican government must implement the verdict and judgments. As stated in the judgment, the International Court of Justice, must hand over the government to the new Khmer Republic in the most effective way, especially demanding various damages.
This is true with no doubt. I am so impressed, lady.
You know what, Bong, I am so with you. We, the Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer, dare to tell the truth. We dare to call out all bad things that the Royal Circle do not dare to call out. We dare to tell the truth about all the traitors without fear. As we all know, these traitors are very evil and diabolical, but they do not dare to fight with us. They know that they made one gross mistake already on December 17, 2010, and we all know that. Because this time is not the same. This Golden Khmer is armed with 6 PhD degrees from the following elite university. And I just want to repeat it again, because I like I said, when I like certain lines, I will like to repeat it again. Number 1, the University of Laverne, Juris Doctor. And then 2, Sam Houston State University, Doctorate of Laws. And then 3, the University of California, Berkeley School of Law, Juris Doctors as well. And then, number 4, the University of Cambridge, Professor Oder, Doctorate of Political Science, Economic and Master Justice of Council Economics in Banking Laws. And then number 5, the Geneva School of Diplomacy and International Relations, University of Institute, Switzerland, Doctor of International Relations. And then last, Bonn University, which is the Doctorate of Laws, Banking and Finance Law. This is true and powerful, Bong. Every time I read these degrees in school name, my heart is full of happy, joy, and liberations. I am an educator, and I know what the feeling about being an education in education or educated is all about, especially when you make all kinds of an accomplishment.
Wow, 2 PhD degrees, or even 1 PhD degree is a great accomplishment already. Now you are talking about 6 PhD degree. There's no word to describe. So I always said, wow, unbelievable. Young lady.
Local team thrives to make this legal claim only for the sake of the nation. And we have confirmation that France and the United Nations confirmed that the territory of KAMPUCHEA KROM belongs to the Khmer people. But the traitors keep talking to discourage Khmer children from thinking about THROL and KAMPUCHEA KROM returning back to Golden Khmer, because they are lack of the intellectual capacity to know what is real and feasible.
Mong Koyan and Mong Chavi, I wanted to remind everyone again that the fee for the liberations for the attorneys and the private military is all paid in full in the amount of 25 billion with 500 MT of gold as the guarantee for payment. And I would like Balmani to show this short clip again to remind people that we are very serious about our liberations mission and reclaiming the loss of our territory of Kampuchea, Bong. Thank you, Bong.
The SKR is the safekeeping receipt of 500 metric tons of gold for payment for the service to liberate KAMPUCHEA from the Vietnamese Communist and Chinese government aggressors. The SKR is the safekeeping receipt of 500 metric tons of gold for payment for the service to liberate KAMPUCHEA from the Vietnamese Communist and Chinese government aggressors.
Thank you, Balmani.
And Bong, could I make a little short comment here?
Sure, go ahead on.
Thank you, Bong. This show proof that Lok Patien have paid in full for the service since 2016. And ladies, this is the largest private service contract ever written, Bong. Wow. Yes, and I also would like to read Lok Patien message. We, the Cambodian people, have all the power to take back our Cambodian territory. We will not stop telling the truth, telling it all the time to those denying with our Khmer ambition. Cambodia is a country governed by the rule of law, which is our power. The Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue knows the enemy's plan very clearly. This is why we want all Cambodians to speak the truth without fear, dare to tell the truth. We are not afraid now and then. The Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue is one of the best institution or movement ever. We started a revolution to save and defend our Khmer sovereignty. The enemy has a very clear distinction between those who know the truth and those who do not know the truth, which is a distortion. And they bring this distortion of truth to the Cambodian children to believe it's lies. But the Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue will continue its effort to inspire our perfect national ideal, national conscience, to shed lights on the darkness for our Cambodian people. You know what, ladies, what makes our Lok Patiens a great leader is his words of wisdom, Bong. Thank you.
Thank you, Yan. That was a very wonderful statement of Lok Patien. And now our evening has come to an end again. I hope tonight our audience can better understand how the Supreme Council of Khmer Help Khmer for Rescue under Lok Patien to reclaim KAMPUCHEA, KROM, and the two islands after we have completed our liberation and secure and control the country under one flag of the new Khmer Republic. Do you ladies have any last thought to share before we say goodbye, to our audience again? Let's start with On Kalyan and On China after.
Well, thank you, Bong Chavi, and thank you, On China.
Thank you.
And before we end tonight, I would like to quote one phrase of Lok Patien's that I had the opportunity to hear one of Lok Patien's recording when he was giving orders to one of his staff, and I quote, "Don't underestimate and do not undermine my leadership and my power." Ladies and my fellow Khmer, this whole content of the conversation was very highly important, involving China's financial problem. I will leave it to that due to the highly confidential matter, but I would like to point out to everyone that Lok Patien has the Chinese Communist government where he wanted them to be, which is under Lok Patien's control. And thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bong Chavi, and thank you, Bong Kalayan. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be here, to send out a message to Akon Khmer again. And, as an experience of 20 years as an educator, knowing I have learned from Lok Patien and Lok Pu Surupech is a gift and experience that I will be cherishing forever. And then on top of it, I am very, very grateful for being part of this historic journey that will be going into history, that will be passing on to my children and my grandchildren and the future of Kon Khmer. Bong.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you, lady. What can I say? Thank you so much. I hope we will see each other at the next show. Before we said goodbye tonight, I want to end this, note to everyone out there, my fellow Kon Khmer around the globe. Whenever I had the opportunity to talk to you, I hear your pain. With this, I want to tell you all of you that hope is coming soon. Do not give up. Stay strong. Be prepared for the new Khmer Republic government, for the people and by the people. The Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue will ensure that all the traitors will be brought to justice. And before we close out this wonderful evening, we would like to acknowledge Lok Chim Til Savan Ho and of course Mr. Okso Rapaj for the guidance and the support of Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue. Khmer Lady Viewpoint show us always. And last but not least, to His Excellency, Professor Dr. Ray Chandam, we all the Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue, Khmer Lady Viewpoint, wish to thank you, Your Excellency, from the bottom of our heart for giving all of us here the opportunity to be part of the history. Until we meet again next month, please follow the Khmer Politics and the Supreme Council of Khmer for Rescue. If you find this show of value, please share it. Thank you, everyone, and good night. យើងខ្ញុំទាំងអស់គ្នាសូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណដល់អស់លោកស្រីប្រិយមិត្តតែងតែតាមដានកម្មវិធីទស្សនៈស្ត្រីនៃឧត្តមក្រុមប្រឹក្សាខ្មែរជួយខ្មែររំដោះជាតិយើងនឹងវិលជួបអស់លោកស្រីសាជាថ្មីនៅវេលាក្រោយសូមអរគុណ
សូមអរគុណយើងខ្មែរតែមួយកំឡាំងលើកស្ទួយជួចចិត្តគុំកាខ្មែរក្រៅខ្មែរក្នុងក្រុងស្រែងើបឡើង ជួយរៀមច្បងយើងដើម្បីមាតុភូមិខ្មែរអើយខ្មែរក្រោកឡើងក្រោកឡើងក្រោកឡើងក្រោកឡើងក្រោកដេញចោលមាចោលក្បន់សង្គមយួនចិនឃាតកោកុំนิ่ងនិយមហើយស្រែកបំភ្លៃបនលំថានឹងមកជួយខ្មែរវេលាលោណាំងខ្មែរត្រូវលើកស្ទួយ
ដំដាំឆិនរីក្លានពូកែបដញ្ញាជួយខ្មែរបានសុខសាន្តអើ ខ្មែរអើយខ្មែរក្រោកឡើងក្រោកឡើងក្រោកឡើងក្រោកឡើងក្រោកដេញចោលមាចោលក្បន់សង្គមយួនចិនឃាតកោកុំនិងនិយមហើយស្រែកមកភ្លេងបនលំថានឹងមកជួយខ្មែរ ខ្មែរត្រូវលើកស្ទួយ